Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Newbie Debate. So I've got a blank verbatimized document. So if you followed the last instructional, you should have verbatim. So either pull up verbatim, or if you've got a Word document pulled up, verbatize it. It should create this verbatim tab. So today we're going to demonstrate how you go about cutting a card. So I'll keep it simple. I've got just looked up Arctic. If you are cutting a card for more specific reasons, you might want to find a little bit more of a specific card. And so Arctic probably isn't your best bet. We're just kind of trying to go over how to cut the card. So I think this one is the one that I'll cut. Maybe isn't the most credible. Who knows? I haven't done too much research on it. But as you can see, there's a lot of different advertisements on here. And so it might be a little hard to navigate, and so I'm going to show you kind of what I do. So you want to make sure you grab everything. So we'll go grab this microbes, ends with years. We'll go ahead and Control V, copy and paste, and then I'll do a space because there's a paragraph there. We'll close out of that just so it's a little bit easier on us, and then we'll grab this next paragraph. We'll paste that too. Another space. This is really easy because it's got a bunch of these, so we can just keep going. And then we'll scroll down preemptively because we'll need to scroll down later. There should be a whole lot more text. Yep, there we go. Brain fart there. Thawing ground and climate change. We'll keep going, and this is the end. So you see this, you can kind of just gut check, tell. This is where it starts trying to advertise you stuff. The full study was published by blah, 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 blah. You don't really need to worry about that because there's definitely not any arguments here that we're missing, and that's the end of the article. So we'll go ahead and grab this. Once again, maybe not the most scientifically accurate piece of evidence, but we're just trying to get something that can help us maybe cut a card and demonstrate just a short little argument. So I highlight everything. First thing I'll typically do is I'll hit clear, and that got rid of mostly everything. These little hyperlinks, if you click on them in the article, it would have taken you to this link from the Army, or this link from another article that they wrote, another article they wrote, blah, blah, blah. So I highlight everything clear, and that mainly was just to get rid of like these formatting things. These were bold. We don't want them bolded because that'll mess up our stuff, because there's specific reasons why we bold stuff like we talked about. So we'll go ahead and clear, and then we will, after that, do the F3 or the condense. Boom, way smaller. And so now we can go about cutting this card to see if it's actually worth our while. Typically, you'll want to read the article first to see if it's worth your while. I haven't read this. Probably should have done that before I started recording, but I kind of figured that there would be something worthwhile here. So let's go ahead and read through this. Microbes are waking up beneath Alaska's permafrost. That's pretty solid, because that's kind of what the argument that the article's title made me think was here. Frozen ground, this is just explaining what permafrost is. We don't need to explain what permafrost is. Hopefully we know that and we're able to explain it. And if you don't know it, it's not the end of the world. That's stuff that we learned throughout the year. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's a whole lot better. Sorry. These aren't animals or plants, but tiny life forms, blah, blah, blah. Once they stir, they get to work. Okay, so here we are. We'll go ahead and grab they, because it's referring to microbes. Break things down. Just go break things down. That sounds better than breaking things down for the context of what we're trying to say. So microbes are waking up beneath Alaska's permafrost. They break things down, releasing gases and shifting the world. Sure, we'll do that. And once I reach like a little bit of a halfway point, I'll go ahead and do this. And oh yeah, just for reference, I highlight this. Then I also want to highlight this, so I hit the control button on my keyboard. It's the bottom left button. It's like the CTRL, and I hold it until I'm done, and then I highlight the next thing I want, and then I'll highlight this ing because it's not a part of the word that we want to keep, and then around them, and because that's the end of the sentence that we read, and then I'll make that 8-point font. So now it's smaller than the rest of the stuff. It's more noticeable when we aren't in 220% zoom. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and go. Permafrost is a deep freezer for ancient life. Because that's part of the argument that we're trying to say. We're trying to just talk about how microbes are waking up, and that's going to do some bad things, because that's what the article title kind of made me think is what they're trying to say. And then this next bit is just kind of explaining, like, you have to try to dissect these. Like, this is the argument. Permafrost is a deep freezer for ancient life. And then there's a little bits of, like, blah, blah, blah. These are some specifics. And then it talks about the history. All that stuff's not as important as just getting the argument across. So we'll make sure that that's 8-point. And then we'll also go and do that over here as well. Make that 8-point. So permafrost is a deep freezer for ancient life. As the world heats up, that icy ground is melting. I wish it would have said like this, that icy ground melts. That would have been cool, but and you can change that, but it's typically not worth it. You only really want to change things if it's like a grammatical mistake that the author made that you'd like to correct, or something that the author said that you don't think is appropriate. Now the icy ground is melting. Do we need that? No, we'll go ahead and cut that, actually. I liked it originally, but I just don't think that, I don't like how that's worded. And if it were worded a little bit differently, maybe we include it, but I think we won't. Dormant microbes in... I don't even know if we want that either. Researcher, we'll do this. We'll go ahead and cut this. We'll go researchers wanted to see if anything was still alive. Boom. Go ahead and cut this. Well, actually, we'll go this. Ran an experiment. And then they wanted. And then we'll cut this. All right. The team collected permafrost samples from a tunnel in central Alaska. Maybe not something we have to read, but something we want to stay big, so that if people ask questions, we know what we're talking about. We actually might do that for this as well. Sorry. We'll go ahead and go and make that 11 once again. Underline. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers has been digging into frozen ground for research. Another thing, maybe we don't need to read this, but if people are like, who are the researchers? The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We don't need to worry about that. That's just referring to this person who made a quote that we're not going to read, so we don't need to keep that, even though it says an institution. Just something that I was thinking about. It said the University of Colorado Boulder, which for the same reason why we kept this big, made me think maybe we want to keep this big. But no, it's just telling you about Tristan Caro, and we aren't keeping that quote, so we don't really need to worry about that. The team added water to the ancient samples and let them sit at 39 to 54 degrees Fahrenheit. At first, the microbes barely moved. these colonies grew at a creep. And then it gives you the specific rate at which they are growing. We'll make this small. 8-point font. That's incredibly slow for comparison. They grow in a matter of hours. But by 6 months in, that's when it changed. That's part of their discovery. That is the reason why they're writing the article. Biofilms. What is a biofilm? I don't really know. And that's why we cut these cards, because we want to learn these types of things. They were trying to understand. I don't think that's super. Well, and this bit is. But this bit is probably not the most important, just some extra details. When microbes break down old plants, they release gases, especially carbon dioxide and methane. This is an important line because maybe you don't know this, but carbon dioxide and methane are really important when we're talking about climate change, and it kind of gets into that. But this is a key warrant for the argument. Both are major contributors to global warming. There we go. Okay, it didn't even need to. It got the point across for me. Right now, climate change is speeding up as permafrost thaw through Alaska, Siberia, and other northern regions. As this frozen ground melts, all the stuff trapped inside of it starts to shift, break down, and release carbon into the air. I know this is probably a little complicated. And I think we've kind of gotten the point across, truthfully. I don't remember where the paragraph ends, and it's not the end of the world. We'll go ahead and just keep this at the bottom. And we'll go ahead and make this a little bit bigger so we can see the bigger picture. Maybe not that small. I want to see the big picture, but still have it be visible to y'all. So now we do the highlighting section. Doesn't matter what color you use. I like yellow. That's just how I learned. But it's a preference thing. A lot of people use blue. It's a pretty color, I like blue. We'll use blue. We'll conform. So now our goal is to try to highlight this down to just what we want read in a debate. So obviously, this is going to get read. We bold this for a reason. This is one of the most important warrants in the card. So we'll go ahead and try to make this sound good, but cut out as much of the fluff as we can. So we'll go, microbes are waking up beneath permafrost, releasing gases. Researchers ran an experiment to see if anything was still alive. We'll go ahead and fix this in a second, sorry. Well, actually, you know what? We don't need to fix it. We'll just go ahead and underline it. Oh. We'll go ahead and underline it. Words sometimes like that, if you have two things highlighted and one of them is underlined, one of them's not, just underline everything. We'll go ahead and hit this button again so that we're able to just keep selecting things quickly like that. Like I said, we don't really need to read this. It's just big so that if they're like, who are the researchers? You know where they got their samples from and who it was. It was the Army Corps of Engineers. How do we want to do this? We'll say the team added water to samples and by 6 months in, the microbes began to form biofilms. When microbes break right now, climate change is speeding up permafrost thaw across Alaska, Siberia. other northern regions, sure. And that's probably fine. This is a decent bit of reading for our contexts. So now our goal is to get a tagline, and we'll go ahead and create the citation. This has been a longer video than I hoped, just because we're both reading this for the first time. So one last thing, just because this has been bothering me, we'll go ahead and go to home, and then text font, and we'll make it black so that those like hyperlinks, wherever they were, I don't even know anymore, and that's probably a good thing. You can't tell where they are. But yeah, so hopefully, or now we won't see those hyperlinks. So we'll go ahead and make that tagline. So we'll go to the debate, and we'll go tag, creates a tagline. So this article, what we're trying to have it say is that microbes or permafrost, it's highlighted, we want to fix that. We'll go ahead and go no color. Go ahead and highlight that and go no color, and that fixed it. So when permafrost thaws, it releases greenhouse gases that speed up climate change. And that's happening now. The reason why we would read this is because we might want to say that, hey, permafrost is currently thawing, and maybe you have a way to stop permafrost from thawing. You can read that. This is a solvency card for that. Or if they can't solve for permafrost thawing, then you can say, well, permafrost is going to thaw and it's going to cause climate change no matter what. And so climate change is non-unique. So now we'll go ahead and go back to the article so we can create that citation. So usually we'll go to the top. It'll be like somewhere right here. We'll go ahead and we can click on their name. It'll show you their a big picture of their face. Not their, there we go. It's a way to just copy their name. It shows you their other articles. Oh, here's a better way to copy it. So we'll go ahead and copy that. Go back to our Word document. Go ahead and paste that. So we'll go ahead and copy this last name. Go Putal. And then we'll go back to the article. 10/6/2025. So we'll go ahead and paste that date here. And then we'll go ahead and grab that 25 and put it here. And then next we'll grab specifically this Putal 25 and then hit the cite button, and that'll make it the same size and font as the citation. So now we got the date. We'll do the article title, so 2 parentheses, and don't worry about the formatting, I'll show you how to fix that. We'll go ahead and copy the article title. Go ahead and keep text only, or just Control V, whatever you do to paste. Then I'll do a comma after the article. We'll go ahead and copy this this link, and we'll go ahead and paste so we're not, because if you do Control V on that, it'll do this, which will show you the article. And so I don't know, I hate how it does that now, so I just go ahead and it's keep text only. So I think just you do Control V, and then I think if you hit T afterwards, that's what happens. But just do I usually just right click and hit this little keep text only button. Once again, I do a comma, and then you can put like the publisher earth.com. I don't think that's as important. It's right here in the URL. If it were a book, you would want to write like the page numbers, maybe the publisher of the book. If it's a book, the publisher is a lot more important. We could put some credentials here if we wanted to. I typically don't, but if it matters, I'll pull the credentials, and that's typically if it's someone who I know has like really, really good credentials. I'd like to have them there just so that we can use them. And then this was posted yesterday, but I accessed it today, which is the 10/7. So I'll usually put accessed 10/7/25. Sorry, and then my initials, which is NN. What you do, the reason why you do this is that so if anyone has any questions about this article, like say 2 years from now, someone pulls this card and then we try to go to this article and it's been killed, they know NN, okay, we know who cut this, so we can go ask questions, so that people aren't getting, like if a team's like, oh, I want to go read the original article of this, can you provide it? And then it's like, oh, the link's not working anymore. They have a vouch. They have someone that's like, yes, this is not fake. We're not cheating. We did actually access this card on this date, and on 10/7/2025, this article was working. And this person can attest to that. And so it's pretty important that you do that. And so that we can go through and ask questions about taglines or the context of an evidence. If maybe you didn't copy the whole article, which we did, but maybe if you didn't and the article's dead, what were the paragraphs saying? Maybe you can answer those questions. Maybe you can't. It's not the end of the world, but this is just like a safety blanket if possible. So now we have a card. So we'll go ahead and go back to the original 100%. And just to fix this formatting, we'll go ahead and clear the formatting. We'll go ahead and make that 8-point font just so it's not in our way. That's pretty small compared to the one that I showed you in the previous episode. But now you have a card. That was it. It was confusing, and I was able to walk us through it a lot, and you kind of only get better at doing this through experience. So if you got to, just go through and cut cards about things that don't matter and that are just silly and that make sense to you until you're able to learn what things you should be looking for and how to do this for yourself. And don't be worried if you do it incorrectly, because there's no such thing as really doing it incorrectly as long as you get these citations down. Because it's like if you highlight this in a way that one of your teammates doesn't really enjoy, I'll let you in on a little secret. Boom. And if they don't like it, then they can do it themselves. It's one of those type of things. But I like the way we did this today, so we'll go ahead and rock with this. And you can go ahead and just do some practice, cut some evidence, even if it's not about the Arctic topic or whatever the topic is in the year that you're watching this this video, and just get some practice in, and it'll make more sense as time goes on and you read more cards and kind of learn how these things are cut and the little tips and tricks that people use to minimize filler words in some of these articles that were not written for a debate, but have the ability to be read in a debate type of way. But yeah, so hopefully this how to cut a card has been educational. Tune in next time. We'll probably talk about some more debate related stuff, more in debate in practice, and I will see you then.